This next webinar is about soil layers in Novapoint and Quadri. If there's any questions during the webinar, just use the Q&A function. You probably already know this from earlier today. Any other questions can be sent in the chat. So I'm just going to introduce myself quickly first. I'm Cecilie Erland. I work with Trimble and have been in Trimble for 3 years now. I work a lot with support. So some of the things I'm going to mention today is typical issues that we get asked at our support. So the agenda for today is why we should use the soil and rock layers, how to create soil and rock layers in Quadri, and we're also going to see how it affects the volume calculations for a road model, and hopefully we have some time for questions at the end. So why should we work with soil layers? You could ask, isn't it enough to just use the ground surface? And yes, you do get results using the ground surface, but you won't get the correct volumes, especially when working with modules in Novapoint. So that's the first reason. Second, we want to share the information with everyone working in Quadri, regardless of the design tools used. They're working with other tools through the connectors. And we want to gather all the data about the soil and rock layers in Quadri. So everyone has this same understanding of what's below ground. So yeah, and as I said, the modules, Novapoint road, water and sewer, and railway are especially adapted to work with soil and rock layers in Quadri. So what kind of alternatives do we have to create soil and rock layers in Quadri? We can either import 3D data and use that to make triangled soil layers as we would in for the ground surface as well. This could be points, lines, or any surfaces. The easiest way and it's a lot used, is to just follow an existing surface, make this copy that is lower than the existing surface. If you know how deep it should be. And the third option is to import a GeoSuite database and automatically create layers from boreholes. We have to use a combination of all of these. There could be some existing data in one area, and we use that in combination with vertically moving a surface. So yeah, that's a bit of what we're gonna look at the demo later. Creating surfaces both from imported data and following an existing surface. So this is the user interface when we are creating layers. We use the subsurface function under the modeling tab. We can add our features if we're going to use imported 3D data. If we're going to use already created surface with this offset, that's on the right side in this elevation input area in the bar here. But these two should not be mixed in one layer. So in the same task, you either use 3D data or you use the surface to follow function. This is something we can see in support cases that someone has tried to add features to both of these, but you can't do that. We also have to choose what material type the layer is going to be, how the layer is used for volume calculations in Novapoint and Quadri. Sorry. And what kind of soil or geotechnical classification does the layer have? So we can have several layers with the same material type, for example, soil 1 in the model, but they have different classifications. So separating them with classification will give the correct volume of the different layers. A soil layer surface always represents the bottom of the soil layer. So if we, for example, have this ground surface on top and we have some topsoil below, we're gonna add a layer with that's little bit below the ground surface, and the area between the topsoil or the area between this layer and the ground surface will be our topsoil. So what's really important to remember when working with layers yeah, working with subsurfaces in Quadri is that all the Novapoint modules interpret the area below the lowest layer to always be a rock. We're gonna get a little back to that several times, but that's really important to remember. The layer material always defines the material above the layer, as I described. And yeah, below the lowest subsurface layer, there is always rock. We're gonna see this in the demo when we calculate the road models. Why this is important. So I'm gonna switch over to Quadri now, where we're gonna create some layers and see how this affects the calculation of a road model, and look how we can see the volumes of the different materials as well. I hope you see Novapoint now. If not, please let me know. So on the left side here, I have a terrain or a ground surface, triangled ground surface. And on this right side, I have the different types of data I'm going to use to create these different layers. For example, this is just some 2D polygons imported. And we also have some imported boreholes that we're also going to look at. You can also see where they are in this model, so around here. So let's start with creating our first ground surface. We're gonna stand on this, the subsurface. Sorry. We're gonna stand on this subsurface and move up to the subsurface section. I'm gonna take the biggest area of the polygons I had, and let's say that is just an area I know has 30 centimeters of topsoil. So topsoil, 30 centimeters. There, let's see it again. So since this is just a 2D polygon, I have to use a surface to follow. I'm gonna choose my ground surface. This is supposed to be 30 centimeters below ground surface. And then I'm gonna use this outer boundary and select this object that is gonna be my boundary. So let's say we give this the material type topsoil, and we can call it organic, classification organic, for example. Just finish. So now I've created this area that is 30 centimeters below my ground surface. So now I'm just going to continue to do the same with the next areas here. I'm going to create a subsurface with, let's say that this area here is some vegetation. This polygon has is in 3D, so I can use features, choose that one. I can classify this as forest, topsoil, and plant residues, for example, and then finish. Now I can see that I have this as well. When creating boreholes, it's creating rock models, it's almost the same. I go to subsurface, select the features I want. I can also use this outer boundary. here as well. And this is what I mentioned earlier that was really important, that we use soil 5 for this rock layer. This is because the modules interprets that everything below the lowest surface is rock. So we're going to give this the material type soil 5 and the classification rock. That will give us the correct volumes, and the calculations with the different modules will also be correct because of this. We could use soil 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but if we want to add more layers later, we're just going to use 5. Then we can use different or the other soil material types for other layers. So the classification is bedrock, and I just press finish. I see that I also have this rock, this area with the rock as well. So we're going to look a bit at this road model. Here I've only used ground surface as the calculation basis. When you only use ground surface, everything below the ground surface is interpreted as soil. But if I edit this task and change the calculation basis to include the topsoil and the vegetation, then we can see that I got a lot of cuts here with rock. And that's because since the topsoil and the vegetation is the lowest surface in their area, and below that, Novapoint interprets that there is rock. So even though we didn't add any rock to the calculation basis here, that's how the calculation is. So that's why we always have to create this rock bottom model. So if we go back to creating a subsurface, we're gonna follow the terrain surface, and we're gonna lower it maybe 15 meters. Material type is soil 5, and the classification is bedrock. Now finish. So if we open this or edit this road model and add this second subsurface, we're gonna see that the calculation will change. So now we will have the correct volumes that has been cut away. But since we added this lower rock surface, we don't have this cut in rock that we saw. So we can go to this corridor solid and see what kind of volumes we have here. Just take away these. We have some vegetation, we have some topsoil, and the rest here is soil. with and it has the classification bedrock. I see that the time is going a little too fast. But we now added all these different layers, everything except boreholes. We created the one surface from, and we of course want that to be a part of the calculation as well. So what we're gonna do now is to edit this big surface and create a hole where this rock area is. And then we have to create a new terrain model with both of these rocks together. Since we're almost at the time, I'm just gonna show here instead. This is just the same area that I created earlier. So in this calculation basis, we have the topsoil, the vegetation, and a new surface, a rock bottom surface with both of these rock surfaces together. And if we see at the volumes now, we have the vegetation and the topsoil, this soil as well. And then we also have this rock that was crossing the road. So we just look at all of these together. And you can see here that here is where the rock is crossing the road. And we all also got that volume here. So the most important thing to remember from this session is that you would think that rock is rock, number one, as the material, but rock is actually best use is soil 5. And below that will be interpreted as rock. So always create a bottom rock model to avoid problems with your calculation. You could call this kind of like a dummy surf or dummy model, but either if you take a copy and lower the ground surface, or if you create just a simple area and triangulate that, you should always create this bottom rock model early in the project. I think that's...
Yes, thank you very much, Cecilie.
go through.
So why is there even material types like rock 6 to 10 if it will be modeled with soil types? Is maybe one obvious question from a panelist. Do we have an answer to that?
To be honest, no, I don't have a good answer to it. It's always been like this, the calculation. If you're gonna use the other, you can use the other materials if you're not gonna calculate the road or water and sewer model. But for those, it should just be like that.
Yes. Another question. When creating holes, sometimes the software will find microgaps between one rock layer and another and shows incorrect blasting model. How to handle that?
Between the different rock layers, you should, when you create the subsurface, the new subsurface, and use the both of these surfaces you've already created, and go to settings and use this in break lines to triangle in between these different models or surfaces. Did that answer the question?
I think so. So, no more questions right now. So I guess we will end this presentation and we will have a short break. It's actually 20 minutes. And the next session will start at 2:45. Thanks again, Cecilie.